We're here with my colleague, FightView 360 correspondent and representative Big J from over in Australia, representing FightView 360. We're going to have him on a couple of times, or maybe more, a month, to talk to you guys so we can get the scoop on what's going on down in Australian boxing. So there's a big fight coming up in Australian boxing with former WBO 147-pound champion Jeff the Hornet Horn versus the son of Tszyu, and Jay, are you there?
Yeah, mate. How you going?
All right. So basically, we're going to sit here and chew the fat for a little bit with you guys and talk some Australian boxing. So you may see a little bit of jump cuts in with some highlights, but nonetheless, for those who are interested in the Australian boxing scene, this is something that we're going to be doing much more frequently because, as you've probably seen on YouTube, there's not really American boxing or not too many American boxing media members that are covering the Australian boxing scene as I do. So for this video, just to introduce, what we're going to be doing, I'm going to be talking to Jay here about upcoming Australian fights, Australian fighters to look out for. And right now we're going to start with what is considered now the only really big fight on the Australian schedule with Jeff Horn, 22 and 1 with 13 KOs, taking on Tszyu with 15 and 0 with 11 KOs. He was born in Sydney but resides in Rockdale, New South Wales, Australia. So basically, to not confuse you guys, I'm going to let Jay go ahead and pretty much break down the fight for you. And I'm going to be interjecting with some questions to make sure we cover all bases. So basically, Jay, first and foremost, welcome to the show. And let's talk about the fight. So let's talk about the fighters first. So let's talk about Jeff Horn, what you know about him as a fighter, what he means to Australian boxing as a whole.
Well, basically, at the moment, Jeff Horn is pretty much the face of Australian boxing, even though they can interchange at any time. I mean, for the last 20 years, Anthony Mundine was the face of Australian boxing, but now I can actually tell you that there were interviews and rumours and innuendo and possibilities that he's going to fight Michael Zarafa. That is now not going to happen. Michael Zarafa has stepped away from that, so common sense has prevailed, and Anthony won't be fighting Michael Zarafa, so that's probably a positive thing.
Okay, well, that's probably hitting fans with a little too much. So let me break that down a little bit. Okay, so you have Jeff Horn. For those who are in the States who don't know, Jeff Horn's last two fights was against Michael Zarafa. You may have saw him when he fought Peter Quillen, in the Barclays Center on PBC, on NBC. You may have saw him when he fought Kell Brook. In Kell Brook's last fight before last at 154 pounds. So over here in the States, Jeff Horn didn't have a television deal for both of the Michael Zarafa fights. Both of them were considered fight of the year, but didn't really get any worldwide exposure because, over here in the States and over in UK territories, we didn't get to see it. So if you don't know, Jeff Horn beat up Australian legend Anthony Mundine back in November of 2018, which was supposed to have been Anthony Mundine's last fight. But since then, Anthony Mundine has since fought and lost, and now there has been some rumors or talk that Anthony Mundine may be looking to fight the very tough 154-pound Michael Zarafa, the same one that took Kell Brook to hell and back. So go ahead, Jay. I just had to break that down a little bit for the fans.
Yeah, so that fight's not going to happen, so we can move away from that. But, not so much the first Horn fight, because the first Horn-Zarafa fight was basically one-way traffic where Zarafa just completely destroyed Jeff Horn. But the second fight is considered probably, and I interviewed boxing legend Barry Michael the other day. He said something from a Rocky movie, and it was absolutely the best fight in the last 20 years, easy, because those two absolutely beat the daylights out of each other. It was a close match. Horn almost got knocked out again. The ref stopped it, checked the cut, and 30 seconds later, Michael Zarafa's sitting on his backside. So Jeff Horn has pretty much cemented his place at the moment as the face of Australian boxing. So he's probably the most well-known, largely in piece to defeating Manny Pacquiao in 2017. But Jeff Horn is definitely the face of Australian boxing at the moment. And Tszyu, as we know, is Tszyu's young fella, his son. And he's coming up the ranks quite nicely. And, undefeated at the moment. Defeated Joel Camilleri last year. Defeated Dwight Ritchie-Gorochusol last year. And defeated Jack Brubaker last year as well. So he's well on his way, nipping at the heels for that number one spot. To be the face of Australian boxing, because at the moment there's only about probably 4 or 5 guys who have that spot, who are competing for that spot. You know, Jeff Horn, Dennis Hogan, Michael Zarafa, Tszyu. But at the moment, Jeff is back on top.
So right now, as it stands, Jeff Horn is not ranked by the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, or surprisingly the WBO at 154 pounds. But
no, he's not.
But as I'm looking, I have the rankings pulled up right now. As I'm looking, he used to be ranked at 160, but he's not. But if you look at Tszyu is ranked fairly high, you know, in the top 10 at number 7 by the IBF. The current IBF champion is Jason Rosario, who's the WBA and IBF champion. He's, you know, expected to take on J. Rock Williams again in a rematch sometime soon. WBO champion is Patrick Teixeira, and you have Jamel Charlo, who's the WBC champion. So basically, this Jeff Horn-Tszyu fight is to lead to a high ranking, but could possibly be a title eliminator. And I guess the question I'm asking you, Jay, is how do you feel about Tszyu as a fighter, and do you feel maybe this Jeff Horn fight may be a little bit too soon for him?
Well, I definitely feel that because Tszyu, even though he's done everything correct, you know, he's fought the low level guys. He's cleaned up his own backyard. He's fought everyone that he possibly could in Australia, with the exception of Michael Zarafa and Dennis Hogan. But this is going to be a massive jump for Tszyu, because, you know, he's never fought. If you look at his resume, he has never fought anyone of any, taking nothing away from him, but he's never fought anyone of any real caliber. Where Jeff Horn has fought 5 current and/or ex-world champions, where Tszyu hasn't fought any. Jeff Horn's fought Randall Bailey, Ali Funika or Fukner, I think that's how you pronounce it. Manny Pacquiao, Terence Crawford, and Anthony Mundine. Tszyu is his last name has obviously helped him along quite nicely, but he's earned his spot where he is without a doubt. You know, he got his rankings because Dwight Ritchie was number 7 IBF when they fought, so he took Dwight Ritchie's ranking. So he's earned his spot, but is he ready for a Jeff Horn? Surprisingly enough, the bookies have him as a hot favourite, and I can't see the justification for that. You have to ask the question how, especially the last Horn Zarafa fight, how much did that take out of Jeff Horn? But I can't see, with the awkward style and that ridiculous right hand of Jeff Horn, that Tszyu is actually going to be able to handle a Jeff Horn, because Jeff Horn's a very orthodox, unusual fighter, brawler. Just keeps coming straight at you. Where Tszyu's more of a very straight up and down, uses his reach, because even at 154, he's 183 centimeters, so he's quite a tall 154 pounder. That's the same size as Mundine. It's going to be an interesting fight. But on paper, Jeff Horn should destroy Tszyu in 3 rounds on paper. But as we all know, boxing is a funny game. So, but yeah, he is the favourite, but I just can't see how they can justify that. So it's going to be an interesting fight, but I just can't see how they can justify Tszyu as a favourite. with the vast experience of a Jeff Horn. So
what does the fight mean though? Like, is it a fight that the Australian public has been asking for? Is it a fight that kind of caught people off guard? Like, oh wow, this is happening. Is it too soon? Because as we talked about before, I kind of feel that maybe this is too big of a jump up for a 25-year-old Tszyu. It feels rushed.
I do feel it's too. I do feel it's a bit of a rush, and it is rushed. And the worst thing that they've done about the fight, and we've talked about this numerous times, is that they still haven't announced where the venue's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you, it's down to Townsville. It's going to be in Queensland, so that's Jeff Horn's home state. It'll be in either Brisbane or Townsville. That's the two venues it's down to. Tszyu comes from Sydney, which is in New South Wales, which is the next state below Queensland, for those who don't know. So, yeah, they've negotiated down to either Townsville or Brisbane, and it's a matter of whether it's going to be in Brisbane, which is Jeff Horn's hometown, or Townsville, which is a neutral location. It's just a matter of which venue they can secure.
So would it be would it be in the Queensland Stadium?
Well, it's down to the Brisbane Exhibition and Convention Centre, which is in Brisbane, which holds 8,000 people.
8,000, okay.
Or the new, I think it's called it's the new Cowboys home stadium up in Townsville that holds 30,000 people. That had a Elton John concert there the other night on Saturday night, just passed, and they packed it out. So yeah, it's the brand new North Queensland Cowboys home stadium. It's a football stadium, so it depends which way they're going to go. So I'm hopefully thinking that they can have it in Townsville, but they might just have it in Brisbane because Jeff Horn likes fighting in Brisbane. So, and the record shows that when it's a big fight, he can't win outside of Brisbane, because he went to Bendigo to fight Zarafa the first time. Zarafa killed him, and when he fought in Las Vegas, Terence Crawford gave him a boxing lesson. So it might be that mental thing that Jeff needs to fight in Brisbane to win. Mm-hmm.
So who has more to lose in this situation? The 25-year-old Tszyu at 15-0 with 11 KOs, or the 32-year-old 22-1 with 13 KOs Jeff Horn?
Definitely Jeff Horn. Jeff Horn has far more. I mean, on an international scale, I really don't think this fight's on the register. Mainly
it's
because
not.
They haven't. I don't think because people. Because you got to remember, a lot of international fans are still thinking that Jeff Horn's just a bloke that robbed Manny Pacquiao of the title, and everyone either doesn't know who Tszyu is or doesn't care. So, but in Australia, it's a very, very big fight. They're talking how it's going to be on the same level on Horn Mundine, which I think is fair. But
it was Horn Mundine was big though. You think this would be bigger than Horn Mundine or just on par with it?
It's hard to say. I mean, in all honesty, once because I follow Jeff Horn on Facebook, once he posts anything on Facebook in regards to whatever he's doing, even if he's doing a bully campaign for the kids at a high school, or shows off his new picture of his new car, you can guarantee within 4 or 5 comments someone will be asking where the bloody hell the fight is. So at this stage, it's really angering a lot of people because no one knows where this thing is, because no one can plan where to go. So Jeff's definitely got more to lose, because from what everyone believes, he's 32 now. He's starting to get past his best. If his wife, and certainly his family, but most importantly, if his wife had her way, he wouldn't be fighting at all. He would have retired after the Crawford fight, because she doesn't want him getting beaten up anymore. And Jeff Horn has bad problems with getting cut. There's a lot of scar tissue above his eyes that cuts very easily, and the poor fella bleeds so easily. It's that, if it was up to his wife, he wouldn't be fighting at all. So Jeff Horn's next loss might be his last fight. Because if Jeff Horn loses, his stock will plummet. His stock will plummet, and Michael Zarafa's chasing him for a third fight, and that might not happen if he loses to Tszyu. If Tszyu loses, it's like, oh, okay, well, He loses, he gains more from the experience, and he just continues on. Where if Jeff Horn loses, he's going to plummet. And while there's always someone that will fight him, there's a Joel Camilleri could fight him, or other domestic fights, but on an international scale, getting those big fights in that world title fight that he wants will get further and further away. So Jeff Horn's certainly got more to lose. But yeah, in my opinion, I think for this fight for both of them, it's not much to gain and a lot to lose. I think this fight's very, very rushed. They seem to be getting it out of the way quickly. And I can't see why. If I was Tim Tszyu's team, I'd be going after a Dennis Hogan or a Michael Zarafa rather than the Jeff Horn. But that's just my opinion. So yeah.